Hello and welcome to the MRR Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Vianney Wilson. You can call me V. I'm the master of shadows here. And with us, we have Jason Fox from 4-Step Consulting, who's built a 7-figure coaching business with a healthy chunk of monthly recurring revenue, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So, Jason, welcome to the podcast, dude. Excited you're here.
Thank you very much. Stoked to be here.
So, I know that your backstory, you're an Aussie, but you live now in America. Before we get into business and all this stuff, talk to me a little bit about how that transition happened.
Yeah, so I originally, my goal in life was to play professional soccer. And so I moved over to the States in 2012, 2013. And I came over for college and went down that path because I tried professional soccer in England for a little bit. And, yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it when I lived over there, but we were in a dangerous part of town, and it was we had to come home. So it came home, went to the US, and then I met my now wife there. And so after we graduated, she moved over to Australia for a little bit. She got pregnant, and then we moved back over here to have our little son, who is turning 2 in a couple months, which is crazy.
That's amazing. And then somehow in the midst of the UK, babies, Australia, and the US, somehow business fit in there. How did that all start? Were you always into business, or was it just a moment? How did all?
Yeah. So, well, it kind of when I graduated college, I came home to Australia and I was trying to get a job, and no one would hire me at all. And I was I was always hustling. I always wanted to, I would call people, text people, I would do whatever I could to get a job. I wasn't just sending out resumes. And then my dad said, well, you know a lot of this stuff, and you're trying to apply for these advanced positions. Why don't you start your own business? Why don't you do digital marketing or whatever it is you want to do, and then work in a warehouse or whatever just to make some money? And so I said, cool, yeah, maybe I'll just do that. And then I started, and it wasn't an overnight success. It took a very long time, but it started to come together, and that's why I won't ever have a job again.
And that's quite a nice thing to be able to say, right? You're
Yeah.
I've got it. This is me. This is how it's going to go. And especially, I know that we spoke about this before with the monthly recurring revenue portion of this, and we'll get into that more in a little bit. Because I want to hold back some of the gold so people keep listening, right?
Yep.
But I know that that's a different experience too. So when you launched business, what was it? Digital marketing? Did you run an agency, or what was the first step into it?
Yeah, I ran an agency. Originally, we were doing websites and SEO and stuff like that. And then we moved over to Facebook ads, which was much more profitable and much better. But it just wasn't my jam. I don't mind Facebook ads. We still have a couple agency clients that we're spending a lot of money with, but just not really fulfilling for me. It wasn't the thing.
Right. Okay. And the next one was coaching.
Yeah, so I got started with coaching because I started a Facebook group to get more agency clients, and it ended up being filled with 2,000 agency owners, and I was like, well, what the hell? And all of them wanted coaching and stuff like that.
Right.
We got a couple agency clients, but all of them wanted coaching. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Here's $600 for 6 weeks of coaching, and turned out I loved it. It was so good, so enjoyable, because we just had a couple people who were just very new or didn't know what they were doing, and we just see the transformations that they went through, and it was amazing. It was so good and so cool to see. So that's when I fell in love with coaching and decided that's my thing. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that's cool. I think I saw an email of yours the other day talking about this, and you were like, I genuinely had the best time, even though it wasn't hugely profitable or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. And so you went from, I guess that's nowadays that would be lower ticket stuff, right? It would be classed as that anyway. $600 for 6 weeks is probably middle to lower ticket, right? But then at some point, we all fell into just the massive benefits of higher ticket stuff, right? Was that your next step as well?
Yeah. Yeah. So, we just, we decided that we wanted to increase our prices. And I think that as you start growing and your skills start getting better, is that you should logically increase your prices. One, to work with better clients, but also to reflect. I think that there's, everyone talks about the world's not fair, right? But it's not. But I think business is fair. and you get you get paid in direct proportion to the amount of value that you're bringing. And a lot of people don't bring enough value and charge too much. So that's
Mm,
why we only started charging once we started to get better, right?
yeah.
And we always want like the value to exceed that, charge that we have, and that kind of like gap makes it a no-brainer. And that's the big reason why we did this and why we started.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, and we started increasing our prices from there.
Started bringing it up. I think it's such a good point. I think certainly like reflecting back, I think to like 4 years ago or something, when I got into this space and everyone was charging a reasonable amount. And it's possibly even when Alex Hormozzi's $100 million offers came out, everyone was like,
Mhm.
okay, we're going to make the craziest offers. They're gonna cost a lot of money, but also it's like we're going to guarantee you a happy firstborn and like all this other stuff like that, these
Yeah,
crazy
yeah,
guarantees. And it's true that pricing, like when I think about some of the people that I've been looking at working with recently, like the masterminds are like 60K. I'm pretty sure 3 years ago they were like 10, right?
yeah.
Like
They're
it's
10 to
just
20.
almost become crazy inflation of price within the actual stuff. But the thing that you said, I think for anyone listening to this, that's I think super valuable is that you always want the value to exceed what the payment is, which I think is even more relevant when you're talking about monthly recurring revenue,
Big
right?
time. Yeah.
Otherwise you get churn,
Yeah.
right?
Well, like I think that's like an underrated thing with monthly recurring. It's, it's a hot topic. It's a cool thing to talk about. But the biggest difference between monthly recurring and like one-time fees is that you actually have to sell the person every single month, right? Every single time that credit card like gets charged is they're thinking, did I get value from this? Did I enjoy it? Should I renew? Right? So you have to sell them every single time. So the value needs to far outweigh that.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're just going to churn.
That's interesting for sure. So what would you say was your moment? And I think I want to ask you about like the structure of what you've got going on. Because I saw your post the other day. You were like, we did this offer, it bombed. We did this one, it worked. This one worked. This one didn't work. This one didn't work. So
Mhm.
when did you get into monthly recurring? So I know that's kind of a supporting pillar really of what you guys do. When did that become something of priority for you? Was it like a moment, or do you just think, oh, I want it to be a bit more secure? Like what?
Yeah, I think. I mean, there was a couple moments because we've tried several. Like we've tried it in different ways. We've tried it low ticket, medium ticket, high ticket. We've tried it in all different ways. But I think that one of the biggest reasons why we shifted to that is because we value like security. Like that's one of the big things that we value: security, consistency, sustainability. Like I think that when you're going into coaching and when you're starting your own business, is that a lot of people talk about a 10K month. Like 10K a month, well, 10K in 1 month does not equal 10K a month,
Mm,
right? And so you have a 10K month and the next month could be two. So I think that like having that and our swings weren't like that. We were constantly growing, but some of the swings would be like 120 to like 40 to 60. And that's a huge drop, like 50% drop. Although it's like first world problem. It's like, okay, cool, you're making good money. But at the same time, it is very like difficult to navigate. And you have to like you increase expenses and then it drops and you're just constantly playing the acquisition game rather than actually focusing on getting clients results.
mm.
And inherently like getting clients results is what works for getting more clients. So I think that that's why we decided to make the shift, and obviously we're glad we did it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I remember speaking to you about that before, and like, and you're right. Some people listening to this will be like, "Oh, whatever, mate. Go from 120K to 40. Who cares?"
Yeah,
But realistically, if you're investing in staff, you're investing in ads, you're investing in systems, you've just bought a new program that helps you with your operations or whatever stuff. Like, it's nice when it's more stable because you can actually plan for those things. I
yeah.
know that you guys talk to us a little bit about the different kind of offers that you've run. You said you've done high, medium, low. What's the kind of patterns that you're seeing? What kind of stuff have you experienced?
Yeah, so I think that with monthly recurring, you kind of need to attack it from different angles. So you like a big thing with monthly recurring revenue, and anyone who wants to do it obviously values security. And I think that you need to just like look back as recently as 2020. That's when we had our first attempt at monthly recurring revenue, and during that time high ticket sales, people weren't making them because they were in lockdown, they didn't have money or whatever it was. But that time we had a $49 a month subscription doing about 15 to 20K a month. And so we thrived during like lockdowns because we had something that was affordable and people thought were a no-brainer. So in terms of like what we have now, is we have a couple of different tiers, if you will, of recurring revenue. We have $49, we have $500, and then 2K. So all of that is a month. And they're just solving different problems and working with different types of people. So people can jump around, they can upgrade, and then some people do downgrade as well because they don't need as much support.
Sure, sure. And then did you find so? And this is specific to business coaching, right? This isn't
Yeah.
SaaS, this isn't agency. This is helping other businesses grow. So I was speaking to Rob Bailey a week ago,
Mm-hmm.
and his is SaaS specifically. And so it's really super interesting hearing
Yeah.
the difference between what software as a service feels like for monthly recurring revenue versus coaching for monthly recurring
Yeah.
revenue. And so, what do you think is the biggest difference between the 49 and the 500? Is that just price? Is that trust? Is that like a different entry point? What are your kind of thoughts around that?
I think that a lot of people really need to create things like this that solve different problems rather than thinking like, oh, what do they get for that price? So at $49 a month, we're solving a problem of like it would be DMs, it would be like maybe content. Whereas at the $500 level, it's solving offer, DMs, building out like a small team or having a VA and sales. And then at the 2K, it's like scaling with ads, growing a bigger team, system, stuff like that. So instead of like what do they get, it's solving problems. And that way
Mm,
you can scale people through. So we had someone who actually just renewed again today, and they renew 6 months in advance, who started with our $49 a month product. So he was already making good money, but started with the low ticket. So it isn't just for like, $49 a month is for beginners, 500s for medium, 2000s for experts. We have people of different caliber or at different revenue levels joining different things because they're solving different problems. And that allows us to upgrade them when we've solved their problem. It also is because you see that like trust is at an all-time low
mm,
within the consumer marketplace. Whether that is the coach's fault, whether it's the responsibility of the consumer, like who cares? But trust is at an all-time low. So that's why we do have things that are lower ticket, is because people are starting. Like we launched this thing for $97 or just one time over the weekend. And like 20, 30 people who wanted to buy our higher ticket stuff bought it. Right. So now that they watch that, and I would say 50% of them will enjoy it at least. Like they all should enjoy it. The content's good, but you can't please everyone. 50% enjoy, 50% upgrade, and now we've just created more monthly recurring revenue. And I think that that's a good way to go, is because you basically are giving people a free trial, because we're in the free trial world, right? As
yeah.
soon as Photoshop or Adobe switched from whatever it was, like $200 to the subscription, which I don't think people realized was probably the internet shift, because everyone
Right.
hated Photoshop for doing that. But that was the shift from ownership to recurring revenue and like renting, if you will, like renting
Mm.
access. So I think that shift is like severely underrated and not talked about enough.
It's a long term play too as well, right? Like I feel like you can give me your perspective on this, but like I've maybe been in the Facebook high ticket ecosystem, let's call it, because I know that's a unique bubble in its own right, right? Just like
Yeah,
Twitter's its own unique bubble, and like everything's got its own micro ecosystem where everyone knows each other somehow, right? All this stuff. But it's true what you say. Like when I was, if I think back, like when Facebook groups first came out, it was amazing, right? And
yeah.
then people hiked up price, and it was amazing. And then COVID came. Hopefully, I can say that on this without the video being taken
I know.
down.
I was just thinking that when I was talking about it, I was like,
Yeah.
we're about to get trigger
Yeah,
flagged.
when this so Alex, editor, just bleep out the word or something, make it sound
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
it's like.
100%.
Um, but yeah, so when all that stuff happened with the world closing down and stuff like that, it's true that suddenly cash flow disappeared. And what was really
Mhm.
interesting is that actually at the time I was working for Google Ads, and like
Yeah,
so many agencies died. It was insane. Except
yeah.
for this was like a weird thing, like the home bread making industry like blew up. We had like some like clients that were in that space.
Oh yeah, there would have been some cool like
Hmm,
industries that like took off during that time. We had a couple of clients who they tried to do things dodgy. Like they were like like lotions and hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
But they had that as products, and then they started selling hand sanitizer, and they went from like 10 grand a month to like 200 grand a
Hmm.
month, and then their ad accounts got banned and they were
Yeah,
broke.
yeah.
So it was a weird time.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I remember as well. There was one. They were selling canned oxygen, and it went from like
Oh yeah, I've seen
something
that.
like 10 to 12K a month or something, because it was like mainly for athletes. That was like the
Yeah,
thing. And they like changed a few keywords, and their website went down. They had so much traffic go through it. But anyway, so the point is, and then everything died off then, and then what's happened over in Ukraine and Europe? Like I definitely felt and saw a shift of people being worried about money again, and like prices soared over in the US, which pretty much dictates most of the rest of the world as far as like the
yeah,
market's concerned. And that's when I first got interested in like monthly recurring revenue as like a genuine interest, as opposed to that's a cool business I'd maybe like to run one day, you know.
hmm
And so I find that really interesting. So I think a lot of people are going to ask this question, and I'm genuinely curious as well. When you think about, you've got do you have a free group as well? Do you have like a free community? You do, don't you?
yeah. We have a free group.
Cool.
Yeah,
So you've got a free community. You've got your $49 a month offer, which solves a problem. You've got the $500 a month offer that solves a different problem, and then the 2K a month offer that solves a different problem, all within an ascending scale of maturity of a business, probably, right?
yeah.
And so, do you deliberately ascend people? Do you send them via? Do you look at it like a ClickFunnels value ladder, the way it used to be, or do people come in from the free group into any of the three above, depending on what fits? Like, what's the kind of model you guys
Yeah,
are running with?
that's a good question. So we will bring people into what suits their needs rather than like going through the ascension. And the cool thing is though, is because the $49 can work with colder people. So people who aren't experienced with us, don't know our world. Because I think that one of our like secret weapons is like longevity. Is, there was this guy who's been following us for 840 days before he paid us a cent.
Well,
Right. And we track that stuff, and I think that that's really important. But now is that, and during that time he bought other programs and whatever. But now what we want to do is reduce, and that's not usual, that's really uncommon. But what we want to do is reduce that. So if someone's cold, buy something for $49, and then we can work with them from there. But if someone is a little bit warmer, we diagnose their problems and say, hey, this is the best product that can fulfill your needs right now, whether it's 500, 49, or 2K.
okay, cool. So, and do they go via sales calls? Are you doing DM sales? Is it just dependent on what's going on, or?
Yeah, dependent. Like, for anything under 500, we push with DMs. Like sometimes I do have to, like, if I'm doing a call, I would downsell to the 500, or if they came in thinking the 500, but I think they're better suited to the 2K, I'd sell through that as well.
Right.
It just really really depends.
Cool. I love that. Okay, so say you are new in this space. Somehow you've accumulated all of Jason Fox's knowledge, right? But you're new. You're a new coach, and you're thinking about building monthly recurring revenue. What would be your advice to someone who's getting into it now, who's thinking
Mhm.
about taking those steps forward? What's like a good starting point?
Yeah, I think that with people go too low and then people also go too high. I really believe like a sweet spot would be $500 to 1K. Probably 1K because like a sale gets you pretty, in a pretty good, comfortable position. And then also build in ways to actually collect more cash up front. So you can have more of a war chest initially, right? Monthly recurring revenue, I think I told you this, is that when we made the switch, we went from like 60K a month to like 30, but that was with signing just as many clients. But
Mm,
instead, people weren't paying in full; they were paying, the payments. So there's a huge drop off. And when you're just starting, is to build that up, it's really difficult. So that's why I would recommend having like a higher ish. So like 1K would be solid. But then also say if it's like 4 months, people get like a $500 or $1,000 discount, or an extra month free if they pay more upfront. So that way you can collect some more cash as you're getting started. Um, and then, one of the things that I would really like recommend is focus on building the audience as much as possible. Like, I just don't think that people come in and they're like, oh, I can go from 0 to 10K a month, like
in
just
30
from
days.
some scam tactic. Yeah, it's like, it doesn't work like that. The only way that, the people get the best results. And I hate when I advertise this. There was this guy 2 weeks ago. He came into our program, joined on the Friday, started doing like DMs our way and utilizing our Facebook group on the Monday. Tuesday closed his first sale. Wednesday closed another sale. Made 16K within like 96 hours, right? And I posted that, but everyone's like, "Oh, how can I achieve that?" I'm like, "You can't if you don't have an audience." And I said that in the post. I said, "This is not possible for most people." And I think that everyone's focus should be audience. And it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be some massive audience, but the bigger the better. I think that there's some people in this industry who are like, "Oh, you don't need a lot of followers to make money." Yeah, you don't, but it doesn't hurt
Yeah, but
to
it
have a
helps.
lot
Yeah, yeah,
right? Right. So I just think that building your audience, having some sort of $500 to $1,000 product, and then a way people can pay you more. You always need an option for people to pay you more, because monthly recurring revenue is great, but like, let's secure cash as well. I think that the mixture of both is important.
yeah, I really love that, and just maybe it's worth emphasizing that point as well. Is like all of the success stories that we see. The only exception perhaps is those people that are really good at cold DMs, and they run like, let's say, five setters who are doing 100 DMs each every day based across loads of
Yeah.
accounts. Like, you can also scale that way. It's not. It's like a tap though, right? It works while it's
Yeah.
on. The second it's turned off, the whole thing's dead.
The whole
And
thing's
so
gone. Yeah.
outside of those guys who are running those games, and all respect to those people, like I have no issues with cold DMs and that kind of stuff personally.
Yeah.
Everyone else who's doing really well, especially people who are growing over time, it's all because they're building audience, always. And especially
Yeah.
the ones, and it bugs me, and I love that you emphasize this, is like, 16K in 96 hours or whatever, using this one little DM trick in brackets, but you have to have the audience. Right.
Yeah, like it's that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because you've probably seen it a lot. Like, and I think you've actually made posts about it, like Instagram shout outs. People think that that's the tactic that is like the best thing at the moment, and it is, right? But the only way it is because it's building audience. And a lot of people disguise Instagram shout outs as building audience. Shout outs only work if your content is good. So the first focus should be like creating great content, letting that build your following, right? And then just adding fuel to the fire. I just like, I can't preach this enough in like this day and age, is like audience building is the thing to secure like your life. I just look at examples. The CrossFit games, like that's a big thing for me. I do CrossFit and I love the competition and the games.
Right.
And some of the athletes, right? Like the prize money for the winner is like 250 grand, which is not much, right?
Mhm.
Considering all the work they have to do. But all of these guys make a lot of money because they have 1 million followers on social, sell a $49 a month access to their programming, and they have 20,000 people in it. So they make 1 million a month, right?
Right.
And the only way they do that is like, there's better coaches than these guys. They were just great athletes, but their audience is so much better, which means that you can monetize something on the back end. And the only way to do and achieve all this is building a freaking audience
Yeah.
around what you do.
Yeah, I think that's really really solid. Like, and especially for monthly recurring revenue, like that is like, because also to some degree, in fact, to a very large degree, your monthly recurring revenue guys are still audience, right? Like, it's all part of
Yeah,
the same game.
exactly.
One of them's
Yeah,
paid
and,
and one of
and
them's free.
monthly recurring revenue even more so because you're. I think that high ticket. I still like high ticket, like once off sales. I really
Yes.
do. I know you feel the same. It's like when you're getting started, I would even lean more to that because one sale equals 6 grand rather than 20 sales of $50 equaling 1,000. And 20 sales at $50 is harder than one sale at 6K, and
That
that's the
is
truth.
certain.
So audience makes it so much easier with monthly recurring.
Yeah.
Um, and I just can't stress it enough. And I just don't think people realize it. Like Gary Vee's been slamming it down our throats for 15 years, and like we're still not listening to the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, Gary Vee, I respect the man. I find him difficult to listen to though. I
Yeah,
feel the
yeah. I
time, like,
love
stop
Gary. Gary
shouting
was
at
the
me,
reason I started.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
cool. So let's I really love that. I think that's a great segue into, you figured out all of this stuff, right? Which I think is all really valuable, and people listening to this are going to really appreciate it. Did you have, or even what were some of the challenges that on this journey that kind of almost stopped you in your tracks and you had to relearn something or reframe something? What kind of moments did you have on your journey? on the way to today.
Yeah. Specifically to like monthly recurring or just in general?
I think both. So there's two sides to
Okay.
this. And you're right. You've got the like monthly recurring revenue isn't necessarily beginner friendly, right? So let's just do high ticket sales first,
Mhm.
and then the monthly recurring piece after that. Just a challenge in each and what you kind of did to overcome them.
Yeah, I think that the biggest challenge that I've faced is that over the course, and this is actually something that I didn't realize, and this is more of a high level answer. Maybe I can give something that's like more applicable to a lot of people. But over the course of like my career, if you will, we've signed 1,500 clients, right? At 1,500 clients, like doing the math, even at $49 a month, that's 73 grand a month. The issue that I think that a lot of people don't realize is that the game isn't always about acquiring new clients. It's about getting your clients to stay for as long as possible and pay you as much as possible. And I think early on, my focus was just on acquiring new clients. And that's what I'm good at. And I love it. But my focus was less on what can I do to keep these clients? How can I make these clients even happier? And that was a big challenge. You know, I looked back and I looked at our Stripe account and I was like, holy crap, look how many clients we've had. Like, we know how to get clients. We get 15 to 20 a month. How come we're not making $1 million a month? And the biggest challenge that I realized, and it took me way too long to realize, was that like keeping clients is more important than what you do to acquire a client. If you only have 3 clients, even at $1,000 a month each, your focus should be crazily over delivering for those 3, because what is infinitely scalable is referrals and word of mouth. There's no
Mm,
1 to 10 ROI in ads, shout outs, organic, whatever it is. The best 1 to 10, conversion is referrals and word of mouth. And although like that's not specifically a challenge, but that was the biggest like lesson that I needed to learn. And it sounds like basic advice, but it is very difficult to actually implement.
for sure, especially in the coaching space. 'Cause I feel like agency, if it's done for you, they're going to stay as long as it's working, right?
Yeah,
Coach, you don't control as much of the results of it, right? You can help people do stuff, but at the end of the day, they have to be the ones doing the stuff. So there's a real
yeah,
art to it. I know that a lot of people struggle. I've certainly struggled with this in the past. Like I'll never forget. I got this was a program that we were doing last year, like in October, and we signed 3 or 4 people on like a more done for you kind of level where we would manage their like teams for them and stuff like that. And I at the time thought it was an amazing idea. I was like, because it's a really great offer. Come in and you as a CEO, you can just obviously keep your thumb on the pulse sort of thing, keep your finger on the trigger, but we'll manage your sales teams and your appointment setters and all this kind of stuff. And what happened was that we were totally at the mercy of the willingness of their staff to do the work.
yep.
And that was like, that shocked me in like a big way because I was like, it's a great offer. I, as a CEO, would love someone else to manage my staff. That'd be great. So
Mhm.
why don't we just set that up for them? And we found that a lot of them, or actually 2 of them, got really poor results because the salespeople just literally wouldn't do the work. And when we went to the CEOs and we said, this and this person isn't doing it, they were just like, no, this is your fault. I'm like,
Of course.
we'll
Yep.
we'll
Had
we'll
the same
refund
offer and
you,
same
but
problem.
Jesus.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
that's the thing. And maybe you've got like, have you got any advice for people that are out there who, um, well, or maybe just this question, like, what do you have any advice for people that are looking to avoid nightmare clients like that and are just trying to increase the overall quality and the commitment from both client and then coach to make that relationship move forward?
Yeah, listen. Every red flag they give you, like people will tell you who they are. Listen, that's the biggest advice that I give you. Like, so I mean, even as recent, and the thing is like I need to take this advice as well. Like recently, I got a client. It was about a month ago. He signed up. I just didn't feel it from the start. I just felt like in my gut. I even had like a dream about it almost. I woke up in the middle of the night and was like, this was a bad decision. And it was working, it's okay, and then suddenly it's like this is a big disaster. And I knew that that was going to happen because they gave me all of the red flags, right? And now it's like I've got to deal with him crapping on. I'm like, here's your money, see you later.
Right.
Like that's the thing, and that happens far too often at any level. I think that anytime someone tells you who they are, listen and
Yeah.
and run. Like nightmare clients and they become the people that complain and think the coaching industry is bad, and they blame the coaches. They never ever take responsibility. Like anyone who's been in 4 coaching programs in the last 6 months and talk shit on all of them. Well, sorry, I don't know if we swear on this,
We
but
can.
if they just talk crap on all of them, is then run away because they're the common denominator. There is actually less bad coaching programs in this industry than people think. There's just a lot more bad clients.
Especially because everything works. Right? It's
Everything
like,
everything works, man. If I took a cold email course, I guarantee I could sign a client in like 6 months. It's just not efficient or not my style. Everything freaking works.
yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
So
that's interesting. I think that's really solid advice, and it's true that we, at least speaking for me, I knew then, and sometimes though, in the moment you're like, oh, I have a feeling this is a bad client, but I could bump up those numbers a bit, and that's the actual conversation that's happening internally. It's like more money versus risking worse quality of life. And only once this happened to me, one single time, I thought someone was going to be a bad client. The first month was genuinely the worst month with any client I've ever had, and
mhm.
then we had it out. We had like a Zoom call where we just had to manage expectations hard. And after that, they've been a dream client. That's happened to me once. Every single
Yeah.
time, which is probably in the 20s for sure. Other than that, it's always been a nightmare. And I've basically always ended up refunding them and being like, God, I wish I hadn't worked with them in the first place.
Yeah, and like the hard thing is because like you get the money in and you give the commission to your setter, your salesperson, you pay the team with it, and so now 30 days later, right? Let's say you just had a crappy week, and now you got to refund that person anyway. Yeah, you might have wanted that 3K, 6K, or whatever it was back then, but it's even worse now. Like they always refund at the worst times,
Yeah,
Like
100%.
it's yeah, you just got to think of that before you enroll clients. Is like they'll tell you who they are. Just listen.
100%, dude. So let's talk about, because I know that you're really really big on this. Let's talk about community, and let's just talk
Mm.
about school, Discord, all that kind of stuff. Because I love school. I know that you love Discord. I'm in your Discord group, right?
Yep.
So like, talk to me about the where you see the industry going. Are you feeling that Facebook groups are dying out a little bit? Are you seeing a revival? What's the kind of feeling that you're getting for the space?
Yeah, I mean, I think Facebook groups are dead and buried. I just think that that's the quickest way to, yeah, go about it. Like they are completely dead and buried.
Unless you
um,
already have one that's big.
what was that? Sorry.
I said, unless you already have a big group, starting a new group, difficult.
Yes, I wholeheartely agree with that. I think that that is a really big point. Is like, so we have a client who I just mentioned, did that 96 hours, made ROI. They have a 60,000 person Facebook group. So of course they're going to do well. But, when you're just starting, they're next to impossible to grow. I think that Facebook groups are dead and buried. I don't recommend anyone start them. The funny thing is I still use my Facebook group. Like I just got 2 sales just now from Facebook group,
Right.
right? But all it is literally I just pitch or give away a free training. It's not really a community. So I think that Facebook groups are dead, and I think that off platform is the best way to go. So school Discord. I don't give a crap what platform it is. Like I really don't care for Discord and don't care for school. Like it doesn't matter. It's just like where people can. I think the missing piece of all of this is the stumble upon effect.
Mm,
When school has a aggregated feed of all of the different groups you in, and I don't know if that's on their product roadmap, but let's say I scroll through, I see a post from you in your group, a post from me in my group, someone in my community. That's when school will be the place to be for groups. Right now, the only reason people are going over to school is to watch a module or to take rather than to give,
mm,
right? And I think that that's a missing piece. Whereas Discord, people are consuming passively with like gaming, with other things. They have other reasons to go on there, so they're stumbling upon my content.
right.
And that's the only reason. I think I'll move to school eventually. I'm not like, I love school. I think it's simple, it's easy, but we're missing that aggregated feed and that stumble upon effect.
For
And that's
sure.
why Facebook groups can still work to a degree, but starting one from scratch right now is going to be a pointless endeavor. Unless it's like around a big topic like mum groups, or like if
Right.
you help people through divorce, or around like topics like that. then yes, but business stuff, like, don't bother.
That's what I was going to say. I think for the B2C side of things, Facebook groups can probably still work quite well. As long as
Yeah,
whoever you're targeting is like over 28. I'm pretty sure no one below that
yeah,
really has Facebook anymore, right? It's basically,
yeah.
as far as I can tell too, there's something I'm growing increasingly concerned with is that I don't see tons of new names and faces in the coaching consultancy space, which is the space that I roam in. I don't see
Hmm.
loads of new people popping up on Facebook. Whereas there was like a period of time where obviously we're all expanding and doing our outreach and growing our communities and everything else. There's a period of time where I would see lots of new faces all the time. I feel like that the rate of new coaches and consultants coming into the space is decreasing because they're all on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, right? That's what I'm seeing a lot of
This
people.
this is such an interesting topic, and I look at this a lot. Is that so? You and I have similar like type clients, and
Yeah,
it's really interesting to see. And I actually like when it happens. Is like, let's say you sign a client who is like our Facebook friend or whatever. Like, I don't really care if they're getting good help. Good, right?
yeah.
You win, I win. Like, that's great. Doesn't matter who they go with, but it's I'm seeing that these people who are winning are like having like posting their client testimonials or posting these clients who have never seen before, like on, as you said, like on Instagram or YouTube. Like, they're not in these Facebook communities anymore. Like, there was a period where like if anyone, any coach signed a client, I could guarantee that they would be on my friends list or in my Facebook group.
Mm,
Nowadays it's not so much and not so common. I think because the industry has shifted so much, attention has shifted. And I don't think this is actually like the people's fault, if you will. I think that Facebook really screwed groups, like,
mm,
more than anything. I don't think this is as much like a consumer thing. I think Facebook messed it up,
yeah,
um, which they have a habit of doing, but
yeah,
it's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I mean the the everyone tag was amazing for 3 days, and then
Yeah, for
everyone was
3 days,
like,
it was
"What
amazing.
is this? White noise everywhere!" Just and it's really
Uh,
interesting too. And I feel like a lot of the people that I work with, and certainly on my profile, like I'm not on Facebook very much. Like there are
yeah.
people working through my profile, but I'm not the like I get pitched all the time, but it's not me who's there, right?
Hmm.
Like there's like we have appointment setters working. Like the like bits that I do is like I respond to the like comments and I like create like posts and stuff. Like I'm involved to that degree, and I'm like creating. But as far as being a consumer on the platform, that really doesn't happen very much anymore. And
Yep.
so I just wonder as people get more sophisticated, people like get better with softwares and VAs and stuff like that. It's becoming sort of a I I have zero stats to back this up, but I'd be pretty sure that the level of consumption as opposed to creation on Facebook is flipping. A lot of people are creating, but they're not really consuming. So I do want to. I haven't played with Instagram very much. Have you got any experience with that as a platform?
Yeah, just quickly on that as well, and I actually think that Facebook are messing it up by doing more things. Like, people, like, there's so many people who are like, oh, the creators make the platform. That's wrong. The consumers make the platform,
Mm,
right? Like, there's shitty meme accounts that like have a couple hundred followers that they have viral stuff just because they focus on memes. But now what Facebook and Instagram are doing is they're favoring and paying out creators. Like, I get paid like $100 a month to write crappy Facebook posts. Like, it's so silly. Like, why pay me? Spend, like, I don't really care for that money. I suppose it's how the way some people live, but like, I think that it's better off investing in getting more consumers on there and getting more people to consume. And I guess that like better creators get that, but their focus is like rewarding creators when the consumers are the ones that are actually doing all the work. And I don't know the solution. I don't, but
right. And are
that's
you
just my
seeing
thoughts.
that on Instagram as well, or most?
Less on Instagram, more on Facebook. I think that they're like trying to reward creators to go on there, but the problem is that people are posting natively to Instagram and reposting on Facebook automatically. So it's
Right,
like nothing new content. So just stay on Instagram.
right.
Um, and I think that this Threads thing was interesting too. I was quite bullish on it from the start.
Yeah.
I'm very I might be very wrong about it. Like, I was right about Clubhouse. I said Clubhouse is going to last 2 weeks and it'll be done. That was obvious. But Threads, I was bullish on it. Now I'm like kind of concerned that it's not going to go anywhere.
Well, I honestly, I was really onto it because I really liked the idea of it being a non-DM type of platform. It just really
Same.
intrigued me for some reason. even though hilariously we get our clients via DM. So it's
Like
like,
my group is called DM Beast.
yeah,
Like that's my
yeah,
whole thing, right?
yeah. But so I thought that was really interesting. And I honestly, I guess a lot of people did this. I was on it for like 3 days, and I haven't logged on since. And
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think it was just an extra. When it wasn't immediately as rewarding as I thought it would be, it lost its shiny object syndrome, and I was like, I don't know. I just didn't really feel it anymore. But I really don't know. And that being said, I also have zero experience with Twitter. I've just never really been on that platform. So, but Twitter has DMs, doesn't it?
Twitter has DMs. Yeah. Twitter's an interesting one. We would have to have a whole podcast on that. The
Yeah.
way
Well,
going at the
maybe
moment.
maybe one day you can come in and explain it. I know that you've played around with it and you're using it to grow your email list a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah, Twitter's really cool for that. I think that Twitter has a good audience. More so my style. I think I really like writing. Yeah, I'm naturally pretty decent at video, but I prefer writing. My
Right.
thoughts are just better articulated. And Twitter, so people will opt into email because they're readers rather than like consumers of video content. So that's why I like Twitter, and that's why I loved the idea of threads, because the Instagram people who are like a lot of purchasers will now be pushed into like text space. But I don't know what they have done wrong. I can't really put my finger on it. I think probably discoverability. No one went viral.
Right.
And I think that that's the problem.
Yeah. There was something strange about it. I felt like the feed was totally random for me.
Totally random. Yeah,
Right.
I was seeing like Kim Kardashian and then like one of my friends on Facebook. Like it was just a silly. It wasn't right.
Right. So that was it. So I think for me, like, cause I would have loved to create a like business ecosystem, right? That's really what I want. Like that would be really, really cool, but it just didn't really exist. But okay, so say we are, what is the one platform that you are most bullish on?
Hmm.
Where would you focus all of your energy if you had to choose one going forwards for the purpose of growing business, building audience, and then building community?
Yeah. So I actually have two different answers for that. If you're starting, Instagram. I just think that discoverability on Instagram is actually really good. Like I think that they do a good job of combining the virality of TikToks versus like your actual engaging of your feed a lot better. I actually really think that Reels and the way Instagram's going has the power to like end TikTok. They've actually fixed all the algorithm. You can go viral no matter what people say. Like the algorithm's quite good on there. So if you're starting, I would say Instagram is your best platform. For me, the platform that I'm playing with and enjoying the most is Twitter. I
Mm,
went from like nothing to 2,000 followers within like 90 days,
wow.
which was really good. There were some hacky things I did, like granted, like I try to hack everything.
Hacking
So
cool.
like
Hacking cool.
I try to hack everything. Like I try to find different ways to grow followings. And there's this thing on Twitter that you can do. It's called giveaways. They're basically two-step posts, but for people can retweet and they have to comment. So it's like a two-step post on Facebook. Who wants this free resource? They comment, which takes it to more people, but they also have to follow you to get the resource. So you would post
Ah,
something and get 200 comments, and you get like 150 of those aren't following you. So you grow 150 followers, and I would do that every week, right? And the cool thing is, I'd send them a resource then that opt into my email list. So I would grow really quickly, 200 to 300 email subs a week just by this one post.
wow.
But I started to get a little cocky and started to do like, if you were on like did a two step on Facebook, like who wants my free DM script? You're gonna get thousands of
Right.
comments, and it's just gonna be
Yeah.
any random. So I did that and like slaughtered my account a little bit with like third world country leads. um, so yeah, but back to the original point is I would say that if you are starting, I would go Instagram. I think that it's a platform that combines the best of DMs, written content, reels, stories is one of the best and most effective selling platforms, and the ability to go viral. I think that is a big one. But for me right now, Twitter is where my focus is.
Twitter's a focus. Cool. I feel like there's so many things that I want to get involved in, but I'm trying to actively not. Right? Because it's like
Yeah,
you could just
I,
be saying things, you know. But that's cool. Okay, Twitter, nice. But we'll definitely have to keep me in the loop with how your kind of Twitter experience goes. Growing 200 to 300 emails in your list per week without ads is actually pretty crazy.
It's insane, right? Like if you think of ad costs, like even if you're an excellent ad buyer, like let's say I think that's $5 a lead minimum,
For
right?
sure.
Like
Yeah.
that's
For
what
yours.
it is.
Yeah, for sure. It's
So
like
that's a
$1,000 a week.
thousand to yeah, $1,000 a week minimum that I'm getting in value. And so I'll take that like 50% aren't good. Like that's fine with me, right? Um, because they churn out. Like I email daily for that reason. Is that
Right.
like I want a high unsub rate because I only want good people in there.
Yeah.
And the thing is the list is solid. We're making 2 to 3 lower ticket sales a day just from email, which is pretty cool.
Right. I love that too. And this is one of the points that Rob Bailey made that's really stuck with me too. And I really like that you're saying that, is that he said there's really two ways to play the monthly recurring revenue game. You've either got the high end where you're one of the more expensive people in your market, but it's very highly like done for you or done with you. It's a high cost for the business as well as high value for the actual client. And there's the
Yep.
other side, which is high value for the client, but basically zero input from anyone. And so
Mm.
yours is really cool, like getting 2 to 3 lower ticket sales from the email list. Like you didn't have to get on a sales call, you just have to blast out an email, and that happens. And I think asset building, and that's actually, to be honest, what communities are, whether it's a free community or a paid community, you're just building out assets that you
Oh, I
can
love that you
resell.
said that. Is I think that like so many people go in this cold DM route or whatever it is. So you send 10 cold DMs on a Monday, one person replies. Tuesday you wake up with one lead. That person, like whatever, you add another 10, another person replies. By Wednesday, you've got 2 leads. Probably both of them don't reply back at zero. But if you focus on building a community and building your audience or building your email list, 10 people you reach out to, get them to follow you or get them to engage with you, not pitch. That's 50% of them will follow you. So now on Tuesday, you wake up with 5 followers. Cool, do it again, another 5. And then that compounds to, let's say you get to 50 or 100. I'm just breaking numbers down for simplicity's sake. Is that because now you have 100, now you can reach out to more people, and now there's more social proof. So 10 people a day start following you, 10 people start going on your email list, and it can grow exponentially. And that's an asset that is paying you in dividends further down the track. Every action you take today will be paid off in 90 days. I think that people don't realize that, especially when starting, is like, I actually looked at my the social blade on Instagram, and anytime I had a high volume month of following of posting, the next month or the month after is when I actually grew my followers,
Mhm.
not the same month. And I think that that is really important to see, is like the actions you take today will not be paid off tomorrow.
Yeah.
They'll be paid off in 90 days, maybe, sometimes even longer.
Mhm.
And that asset building is just so important.
Yeah, and there's tons of people out there who'll go, oh, that's not true. You can call DM or whatever. You can make sales. That's true, but how many times have you bought something within 20 minutes of being pitched by someone?
Yeah,
Right? Like
I
it
agree.
happens. And in fact, I recently, this is the first time in the 6 years that I've been doing this that I did this. Someone pitched me, I can't remember their name, and they were like, hey, we help you buy some Instagram followers. They're all definitely authentic, like that.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, I'll throw some money away just to see what happens. Right?
Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
like,
I've done that before,
yeah,
right? With a good offer, cold DMs. Man, cold DMs have worked for us, right? But not with like pitching to go into a follow and then like a conversation and then we
yeah,
go from there. So
for sure.
it can work.
I love that, dude. Cool. So tell us, what are you working on right now? What's the next thing that you are moving towards? What's happening in Jason Fox's world?
Yeah. So at the moment, we are focused really on okay, I'll put it like this, is that you know how everyone says the seven, like average millionaire has like 7 streams of income or
Hmm.
like something like that. I think that's like BS, right? Because the all the millionaires I know focus on one thing, made a million, and then bought other things,
Right.
right? But we're in that stage where we've crossed the million, and now we're looking to shore up our business in different ways so that we're secure going forward and we're fortified against anything that can happen, but also so we can grow in multiple ways. And today is kind of a perfect example of that in action. Is that we made like I think 4 lower ticket. PayPal just pinged me a few notifications. So 4 lower ticket at $97. So whatever, $400. Someone renewed for an extra 6 months. So 4 or 5 grand there. And then someone also purchased our like white label SaaS. So that's 3 different purchases that will be paid off. paid out straight away, but also paid off in months' time. So now we're creating an ecosystem where we're fortified against anything that can go wrong. And that's really our focus at the moment is monetizing in more ways and going like wider with our clients rather than trying to get more clients all the time. We will get more clients, but trying to get our clients to work with us in different ways.
Right.
And so we really have like 4 vehicles of that. The first one is like our lower ticket subscription or once off courses as a free trial, but they're paying to get into our other things. The second one would be medium ticket. The third one would be the high ticket. And the fourth one would be like affiliate or our SaaS stuff. So we have different ways and avenues for people to work with us, all under one umbrella and all under one personal brand. So now a client, let's say they do churn because churn's inevitable, is that they're going to continue paying us, whether they're an affiliate of school because we have that, or an affiliate of like Go High Level, or a white label of our SaaS. So even if people churn, they're still paying us every month,
Right.
right? It's actually funny. We used to do ClickFunnels, and there was a client who the relationship ended poorly. It just was poor communication. We were very young, and like 6 years later, they still pay us like $100 a month for affiliate commission.
That's really
And
cool.
like I never want that. Like I've spoken to them since, and we're all good, and it's the relationship mended. But like that is what I'm talking about, right? Like things don't last forever, but you can monetize in different ways. So that's really what we're doing. I'd say it's like fortifying our business by having different ways to monetize.
That's cool. I love that. And I think because I'm on your email list, and I genuinely really enjoy your emails. And for anyone who's curious on where you can find Jason, we're going to have links below this video. And we're going to talk about where you can find him anyway. But his email list is very good. And the thing that you posted about today was, and I think it fits into this, vertical
Yep.
scaling versus horizontal scaling, right?
Yeah.
Versus trying to always acquire new customers all the time. Obviously, the emphasis on acquiring more people in your actual audience, in your community, whatever, because that's the way that we actually grow that thing. But then selling the same people on more stuff potentially, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's really interesting with what you're saying, okay, you're saying, well, obviously there's, you've got your white label SaaS, you've got these various courses. They actually all solve a different problem.
Yep.
So there's not the overlap of, oh, I'm trying to just upsell someone on the same information effectively, but like up level it a little bit. You're actually solving different levels of issues. So one of them's CRM, the other one's DMing, the next one might be ops or whatever, and then it's sales. I think it's cool. It's very, very smart. I like that.
Yeah. And it's awesome. It's a great way to go. Like I looked at she does 8 figures, right? This girl, and I was like, man, she just must like post these TikToks and stuff that goes viral. None of her content goes viral. She loses more followers every day than what she gains, but she just has so many ways to monetize, right? Like she has people who are paying her $49 a month in like a separate membership, and then they're also paying her like $6,000 a month in this other thing, but still paying the 49 because it's solving a different problem. I'm like, that's really smart. It's not taking advantage of your clients if they're seeing value, right? The $49 might be, oh, that's for my team. They can watch those videos. The $6,000 might be, I have access to her every month. And right, the other thing, so she's basically got this ecosystem where her average client would probably pay her 20 grand plus without them actually realizing that they're paying that. She doesn't need to grow her audience over and over again, although it helps because she does grow. And we talked about that at the start. But like, having this wide range really helps. Now, all of this to say, if you are newer, don't be looking to do
Yeah,
that.
don't do
Think
it.
of it, but don't have 7 products, right? The average millionaire has 7 streams of income, but they have one until they hit a million. I think that that's such a missing piece.
Yeah,
So yeah, keep it narrow to start, but then you can widen it as you go.
for sure. And even if it's just because like one thing is hard enough, believe me, like you're going to be wearing all the hats. If you're new, you're going to be doing sales, marketing, content, the email piece, you're going to be doing delivery, you're going to be doing ops, literally everything. You don't need to add
Everything.
more problems. And that's actually why high ticket became such a big thing because everyone went, just like you were saying before, it's way easier to sell one 6K program than it is to sell $50 a month programs. Way
Yeah.
easier. And so everyone was like, well, if I'm wearing all the hats anyway, might as well just bang out 10 sales calls a week and close 2 of them. And like
Mm-hmm.
life is way simpler that way. Cool, awesome. I really appreciate everything you said. Where can we find you? Obviously, I'll link all the stuff, but just if anyone listening in the podcast or whatever, what's the easiest way to work with you, find you, and be in your world?
Yeah, probably the best way is just go to jasoncfox.com. So Jason, the letter C, Fox, Fox and that you can sign up to my email list. My socials are all linked there as well. But probably the best is sign up to the email list, because that's where like I talk about the most, and that's my kind of best content.
Cool, and I'll vouch for that. I unsub from a lot of email lists, and yours I haven't unsub from.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I try to keep it interesting. I've got a lot of good comments. Some people are like, "You're an idiot," but a lot of people enjoy it. So it's
I
fun.
mean, what are you going to do? I mean, that's just the World Wide Web for you. I
Yeah,
remember,
that's where we live.
yeah. I'll leave this fun story, and then we can wind down. But I used to work in the fitness space, and so my brother and I would run these fitness ads, and the amount of hate, firstly, that anyone gets in fitness is astounding, possibly more so than
Crazy.
in business. I'm not 100% sure. But you even get people like, we had a guy send us like, we were doing Facebook Messenger ads using ManyChat and all that kind of stuff that people used to do before they put on
Yeah.
that 24-hour messaging window and all that stuff, and ruined the entire game. But anyway,
How they killed the game.
yeah, he killed the game. He was sending us like pictures of him and his like leather dominatrix stuff. I was like, what is happening with the world?
Yeah, it's so weird. Yeah, I
Maybe
know what you're talking about.
there's crazy people out there. But listen, dude, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for hopping on. I'll post all those links below so you guys can jump into Jason's world and learn from him. And yeah, looking forward to doing this again in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah.